Here on Sunday for the round of 32, Wisconsin Badgers versus Iowa State at 5:10. Jeff, just right off the bat, Badgers got into a close first half and a little bit of a close second half the other night against Colgate. Do you expect much of the same here tonight?
Yeah, I mean, that's been their MO all season. They have rarely blown teams out. They've lost a couple by double digits, but I would expect Iowa State, if they play as well as they did the other night in certain areas, that there's no reason they can't hang with Wisconsin, and there's no reason they can't upset Wisconsin if Wisconsin doesn't play well.
Before we kind of get into some of the keys of the game here versus Wisconsin tonight, how much stock do you actually put into Iowa State's win the other night? LSU is going through a ton of upheaval. They were without their head coach. Is that really a win you need to look at and be worried about as a Wisconsin fan, so to speak?
Not the fact that they beat LSU per se, because LSU playing without its head coach, without its associate head coach. But you look at what Iowa State did well in that game and how that might transition over to playing Wisconsin. Completely different team, completely different matchups. Their defensive pressure was excellent. They forced a lot of turnovers, a lot of steals. So if they do that against Wisconsin, then that's one of the things that Wisconsin players and coaches need to be wary of.
Someone that Iowa State can lean on is Tyrese Hunter from just down the road here in Racine. Makes me want to kringle whenever I talk about that. But what do we need to look for in his matchup, especially against Chucky Hepburn?
Well, he was the guy who carried Iowa State, particularly in the second half. He's not a great three-point shooter, but he was 7 of 11, I believe 6 of 10 in the second half, 23 points, 5 steals I think he had. He sets the tone for them. He's not their leading scorer, he's their second leading scorer. But he sets the tone for them, in my opinion, on offense and defense. They force about 17 turnovers per game. Wisconsin leads the nation in fewest turnovers per game at about 8.6. So to me, Hepburn's got to run the offense efficiently for Wisconsin, initiate it, and he's also got to try to contain Hunter. And I'm curious to see if Iowa State, which about almost 66% of their shots the other night were from three-point, 37 shots. That's unconscionable for them. I'm curious to see if Wisconsin can keep them on the perimeter or if Hunter can get in against Hepburn and break down Wisconsin's defense.
When it comes to the turnovers, does it almost feel like something's got to give from one side or the other?
Well, they do a really good job getting the passing lanes, Iowa State does, double teaming the post. A help defender will come. So what Wisconsin has to do is be strong with the ball. And if you get the ball in the post, either to Stephen Crowell or Tyler Wall in particular, you have to be knowing that double team's going to come, and it's going to come hard. So if you hold on to the ball too long, you could get it stripped. You need to kick it away early if you can.
Of course, the story of the Friday night win versus Colgate was Johnny Davis. He started off a little slow, and then the last 6 minutes of the game, he scored all of Wisconsin's points, 14 total, from every point of the floor. It seemed like from three, underneath, from the free throw line. Looking into tonight, simple question. How important is he yet again? Do we expect the same sort of performance?
Well, he's arguably the best closer in the Big Ten and maybe one of the best in college basketball, because he has done that to teams in the Big Ten. He's done that several times this year. But in my opinion, as good of a closer as he is, both against Michigan State in the Big Ten tournament when they lost and against Colgate the other night. Now, they were tied at halftime, but they came out, they were forced too many shots offensively. They didn't touch the post enough offensively. They need to do a better job on offense early, right from the start in this game against Iowa State, so they don't have to depend on Davis to close for them with the last 14 points of the game. If they have a lead and they can, cement it by hitting some free throws late, that's great, but you don't want to have to depend on that all the time.
We've talked about Davis, we've talked about Tyrese Hunter turnovers. Is there anything else that's the key to this game tonight we should be looking for?
I'm really curious to see. Brad Davison only took 5 shots the other night against Colgate. He didn't try to force anything, but he's a guy, does he have an opportunity to hit some shots from three-point range? And also, Stephen Crowell has been quiet the last 2 or 3 games for Wisconsin. If he gets the ball in the post, can he take advantage of Iowa State? Because they're not really big down low.
As we said, Wisconsin tips off against Iowa State, an 11 seed at 5:10 today. Make sure to read Jeff's full coverage